Hi, so I'm going to show you now how to install for the first time or reinstall the software that manages and controls the big Xerox Workcenter 7655 we have downstairs. We've had some difficulty with that printer, and so it was taken away and brought back, and that process um, damaged the existing driver, the existing software program on most people's system. And also, I'm making this video because when you get a new computer or we get a new user on the system, they'll want to install that printer so they can use it. So this instruction will cover both of them. First, you need to find your installed printers, where your printers are kept. In Windows 8, you go to the bottom right hand side and hover with your mouse, and you will get a flyout that gives you a search option. On Windows XP or Windows 7, you just find your way to the control panels, and one of them will be devices and printers or just printers. So I'm going to search for printers. I'm going to pull up the devices and printers control panel. Now they list these various devices, but at the bottom here you see the printers that are installed. These are the printers I already have. Now your printer probably says, if you've had some recent difficulty with it, XYYZZ012. It's some series of numbers, and it doesn't even say Xerox 7655. Even if it does, or some combination, if you're having trouble and the solution is to reinstall your driver, we're going to just remove this device. And you would remove any other Xerox devices. If this is a new installation, you won't have any Xerox devices to remove as a first step. Next, you add a printer up here at the top. Add a printer. Now it's going to search for the available printers, and it's even going to find our existing printer name, Workcenter 7655 Xerox, but we don't want to use that. We want to make it a clean installation of exactly the way we want to do it. So we're going to say that our printer isn't listed at the bottom. Now we are going to add, it's pre-selected here at the bottom, but if not, you want to add a local printer or network printer with manual settings. So a local printer would be one that's plugged right into your computer, and even though the big Xerox isn't plugged right into your computer, it is technically a local printer. If you're installing on an older operating system, it may only say add a local printer, but this one says add a local or network printer, so it does make sense that we're installing that with manual settings. Next. Now, since I've had this printer installed previously on my computer, there already is an existing printer port, so I can use an existing printer port. The type of printer port we use is one that is based on the Internet Protocol address of the printer on our system, and it is 192.168.1.66. So we would use that port. All a port is the way you're going to communicate with the printer. So these top ports have to do with places they can plug directly into your computer. But because it's on the network and we're going to get to it using the network and using its address, it would be this selection standard TCP IP port ending with .66. So you can select that and go next. Since I'm showing you both the option of replacing your installation or a new one, I'm going to show you how to create a new port, because you won't already have that on your system if this is your first installation. So these are the types of ports. We're going to create a new port, standard TCP IP port. That just has to do with utilizing our network and our addressing system, and go next. The host name or IP address is 192.168.1.66. Now it's adding a _2 on here because I already have this set up on my computer. It doesn't matter, but if this is a new installation, it won't say that. It'll just say 192.168.1.66. Now this is important. We do not want to query the printer and automatically select the driver to use. We want to choose our own driver. Now when I hit next, whether this is a new installation or you're replacing your existing driver, the next screen will be the same in both cases. So you've either used an existing port or you've created this new one and you hit next, and this is what you get. Now you have the opportunity to install the printer driver. The Xerox driver is probably in here somewhere, but we don't care. We don't want to use it. We want to utilize the option of have disk. And we do indeed have the disk. So we're going to utilize that option because we have it on the network. Actually, not a disk, but we have it on the network. So we are going to browse the network. It's pre there, but let's say we're just browsing the network here. Some of you don't get the Kodi Cloud to pull up. I'll give you an alternative method here in a moment. But if you do, you want to go to Kodi Cloud, Kodi, Software. That's the most important thing, software. And then we have right here on the list Xerox printer drivers. 32-bit basically applies to Windows XP, and 64-bit applies to Windows 7 and above. Chances are very strong that you're going to use the 64-bit. If it's a new installation, for sure. If you're replacing the driver on a Windows XP machine, you'll use 32. So you open this up and there's only one option here, this one file, and that's the one you're going to use. Now let me show you real quickly what you can do if when you go to browse the network and you see all the different computers and Kodi Cloud doesn't show up for you. You can utilize your own shortcut to your files on the cloud. Here's my shortcut to my files on the cloud. And then I can just go up until I get to the same screen. See, I use this up direction. You start out in your own folder here, and you can go to Kodi Cloud here, or you can move up. But anyway, you get in there and you find the software folder. I hope you followed all that. So inside the software folder, same thing. The Xerox printer drivers, 64-bit. This makes it a little bit more difficult because you don't know which one's the printer driver. But what you can do is just take this folder and put it on your desktop and erase it later. It doesn't take very long. And that way, if you couldn't get to the driver via the network, you can instead go to your own desktop and get to the driver that way. You see how that works? Those are the two options on how to get there. So we select this correct driver file, the Xerox 64-bit driver file, and we open that, and then we say OK. It gives you three choices here. We're the 7655. In case you're curious, that has to do with the copy speed, 55 words per minute, 65 words per minute, or second, or whatever, minute maybe. Anyway, that's our number, and that's the most important thing. Then you go next. We want to replace the current driver. If you're fixing any problem with your driver, you want to replace it. You won't have that option, of course, if it's a new installation. It'll just be a new driver. So next. Printer name, I thought I already did this, but we'll give it a printer name. I like to shorten it just so it looks a little bit less messy, but frankly, you can call it anything you want. And now we're installing the printer. Do not share the printer. If you share the printer, then the printer shows up as a printing option in for every person on the network, and that's annoying. So do not share the printer. Next, we can print a test page. That's fine. We'll close this. What will happen is on the lower right hand part of the screen on my computer, it'll pop up when it's printed that, but that's fine. I'm sure it'll work. So we're going to click finish. Now here's one last setting I'd like you to do in order to make printing easier for everyone, and that's if you right click the printer you just installed and you go to printing preferences. Now by the way, you can make this your default printer or not. That's up to you. You see I got this pop-up that my test print page printed fine. Um, sorry. So right click this to get to your printing preferences. And what we want to do is go to the Advanced tab and then open up the paper output options and see here where it says banner sheet enabled. We don't like that. Let's take that off. Make that disabled. That is why there'll be a cover sheet when you send a job to the printer. It'll say shipping or production or treasury to indicate which computer printed it. We don't need the banner sheet, so it's good to turn that off. We'll apply on that one. And then on the paper output, just double check that the pre-existing selection is letter 8.5 by 11. That will be your default printer settings. Another bit of trouble we've had is this has been set up to be letterhead or letterhead or something. I'm not sure how that happened, but you want your default to be letter 8.5 by 11 plain, obviously, as your default. And that's really all there is to it. Now you have either replaced a defective driver or installed newly the Xerox 7655 and can use that big behemoth of a printer to your heart's content.